Hey everybody, how's it going? I just woke up and now I'm having some coffee that I got from down the street. And I'm listening to some music that my friend Nikki has made for me for doing my show, Whistlegraph Live, or like the RPG stuff that I've been working on, which is kind of cool. I'm running a game tonight. The game is going to be called Pinkest Ghost, and I'm excited about that. Alex is going to be a player. What else has been going on? I don't know. I woke up kind of tired and with like not a lot of energy. Do you ever have days where you like wake up like with like not a lot of energy and stuff? You know what I mean? It just happens sometimes, I guess. Even though even if you didn't like do anything the night before other than like sit on TikTok or whatever, sometimes you wake up and you're like more tired than you should be. But I just had avocado and eggs. Oh, look at this. I have some chalk here. This is Hagaromo chalk. It's like this chalk that is like really fancy, and it used to be really expensive. They make it in Japan, but they like stopped making it and they started making it again because the demand was high. Mostly because this one YouTube video came out by this like YouTube channel called like Great Big Story or whatever. They made this like video about like the world's like coolest chalk, and then it went like super viral, and so they created all this demand on eBay for like these old boxes of chalk. And I was actually part of that demand because I was looking up chalk at the time because like I was getting a blackboard, and I was like, oh, I want like the best chalk. So then I got like swept up in that thing. But now they make all different kinds, like different colors and stuff, which is kind of cool. And it's really cheap. You can get it on Amazon. I'm not advertising for them. It's really cool chalk, I guess. Let's do a little room tour. So this is my bed right now, as you can see. There's like ink stains on it, quite a lot of ink stains. And this is the outside of my window. This is my other window. This is where I go live on TikTok often. This is like my little TikTok going live desk. Here's a piano that I have, but it hasn't really gotten much use yet. Here's my metronome, a little Pikachu metronome that I use to practice whistlegraphs. Like that. My pen, which you've seen many times before. Oh, check this out. You haven't seen this. This is where I put all my used pens. This is my used pen shelf. Here's one that's kind of cool. I was working on this one for a while. This one's modded. So like the top has this little cap and then you can put Legos on it. Right now it's got a Lego frog, as you can see, which is kind of nice. I'll put that back up there. And I'll come back around. So, yeah, I guess it's a pretty good day today. Alex and Camille are coming over and we're going to record whistlegraph videos. Lately my TikTok hasn't been doing that well, so maybe it's been putting me in kind of like a sour mood because I was expecting it to do better. But I've been wondering about like, I know we're not supposed to care too much about that, but I do care about it. I wish I didn't. I guess when you put so much time into something, you want it to do well. Or like, often you think that it's like, is it me who's not doing well enough, or is it like the audience who's failing me, or the app that's failing me, or is it like is it the videos that I'm making? Like all kinds of stuff like that go through your head. So that's why it's like not really a good idea to like think about that stuff and just like trust yourself, which I mostly try to do. Whoa, there's a lot of wind outside. Pretty cool. I've been reading some cool books, actually. You guys want to see the books that I've been reading? Hold on. This is the book that I was reading last night, Into the Universe of Technical Images, which, where did I leave off at? Yeah, there's this whole part about touch. And there's Flusser, who's the author, is trying to create a theory about keys and buttons and what it means to touch keys and buttons as opposed to, and to create images by touching keys and buttons, as opposed to create images, graven images. By graven images, I mean graphic images, which is images that are made by scratching. You know, when you draw with a pen, you scratch. You kind of like, you incise. You know, you create like a groove into something, and actually that's where the term graphics and drawing kind of comes from, is creating that kind of like scratch, you know? And that's probably one of the main differences between drawing and painting. You know, people always wonder like, oh, like what's the difference between drawing and painting, or like aren't they the same thing, or you know, like how do you kind of differentiate them? And then some people will try to like use color to differentiate them, but that doesn't really work, you know? Really the difference is that drawing is, well, for one thing, drawing is abstract, right? So when you make a drawing, you can use any media. I can draw with my finger, right? I can also draw with a pencil. I can draw with a piece of chalk. I can draw on the computer. I can draw with a fountain pen. You get the idea. I can draw with anything, right? I can draw with pixels. The painting is usually more tied to the idea of like coating a surface, or like applying bits of color to a surface, and like taking something from one thing and like putting it on top of something else, right? So painting is more of like placing things on things, and drawing is more of an idea of like carving into things, right? Like engraving into things. And also drawing is so connected with the history of writing and language. And so drawing is somehow inextricably like tied to like language and like the creation of like systems and like codes. Whereas painting has always been more of a perceptual thing, right? Like it can never really, a great painting is usually great because it can't really approach language. And probably the one way in which paintings have kind of like approached language is they get reduced. Like some of the most popular like paintings, they get reduced like way down and kind of like boiled by the culture until they pop out as like an emoji, like the scream emoji, or like the the hokusai like wave emoji. You know, these are like paintings that like slowly were like boiled down into little pieces or bits of language. But even emojis are kind of different from drawings. You know, emojis are kind of like the sort of like illustrations of like Unicode, I guess. Like they're kind of like, you don't really know how to interpret them and stuff, and so they kind of like, in a way, I think emojis are kind of like the institutionalization of painting into an international language, right? Because it allows these like symbols to be like interpreted and like but not have like a clear and defined meaning. You know what I mean? So they're kind of like these like escape hatches for like communication. Yeah, emojis are interesting. I think the reason why emojis are so interesting is, to me, is because like well, you know, I make the whistlegraphs, and whistlegraphs to me are kind of like these little symbols that can like exist across time and space. Like you can memorize them and you can like draw them, you know, like, would you like to come down the stairs? I don't want to, you know. So you can like have them in your head and like internalize them in the same way that you can like internalize language. And emojis can kind of be like internalized too. And like, yeah, emojis are weird. Because the thing about emojis is that like, it seemed like for a long time, language was going, and like text was going in the direction of smaller and smaller, simpler bits. You know, so like we used to have like large sets of letters, and then that gets reduced down to like the Latin alphabet, which is only like 26 letters, and then you can like use that to build any kind of like phoneme or sound. And then once you have that, it's like, well, you don't really need anything else, right? So like there's no need for like hieroglyphs, right? Or symbols that like look like something. So then emojis like brought all of that back all of a sudden and showed that it was somehow like needed or necessary. But like, it's kind of like an illusion, because the real alphabet that's being used for communication is just binary, like zeros and ones. And so I guess the like ending question that I could have is like, are emojis like a turn towards like the perceptual and the like human aspect of language, and binary is like a turn away from the human or something? Because humans have a hard time reading and understanding binary, right? Whereas emojis, if you just have one word in an emoji, you understand it like a lot better than just having the word there. So like somehow emojis like make a message go down more smoothly for humans, but might be more confusing to like an artificial intelligence or like computers. And yeah, and one of the worst things about emojis is that I guess they're not really memorizable, or there's no graphic form. Like for example, the emojis don't have any fonts. They're always like these full color things. And so that kind of interests me too. Like why aren't the emojis kind of like these more simplified like graphic things? How come they're like these full color like weird cartoons? And how come there's no like really weird styles of emoji? Like Apple's emojis are like very like neoliberal or whatever, and like fancy and like fine, kind of like Disney style. And then like Samsung's emojis are like kind of like a little flat, and like Google's emojis are kind of like, I don't know, they're all kind of like the same. You know what I mean? They all kind of like dance around the same like look. It's like each emoji set from like different operating systems is basically like a slight variant of like Times New Roman or something. And so I think it would be interesting if like people like remade like emoji sets, but like really like with like wild aesthetics, you know what I mean? Or like how come emojis are like locked into this like one kind of like, I don't know, like Olympic, like World's Fair kind of like bullshit aesthetic, It's kind of odd. But I do like the fact that the emoji consortium exists, the fact that like it's like this collective sort of like thing. I just wish that there was like more fonts for emojis that I could switch to. Or like I wish that was like the aesthetics were like not unified, I think the fact that emojis have a unified aesthetic is really weird. And actually if you look at Discord is kind of the future of emojis, because on your account, if you have like a pro account on Discord, you can like add your own emojis. And then like, so everyone brings their own emojis to the conversation. And then servers or places that you go have their own emojis too. And so this creates this kind of like weird twisted mutation of like the written language plus like hieroglyphs. And yeah, I think like, people often talk about having like a cryptocurrency wallet or like crypto wallet. I feel like having like a language wallet or like a portable language pack that you can take with you to different spaces online is kind of like cool. You know what I mean? Like it's always been hard to like move fonts around and move like glyphs around, but what if that was like something that like, like that was like part of the social graph, right? So like when you tweet or like when you send a message to somebody, like you can do it with like your own type of text, your own kind of like language, your own emojis and stuff, and that becomes like part of like your value in the world, is like being like an agent of language and of like changing language. Anyway, maybe it's time for me to end this vlog, but it was nice to talk to you guys, and yeah, I didn't realize I would be talking about emoji for so long, but it's interesting. I don't usually think about this stuff that much. Peace.